And of course, the people's lawyer is here with us again, Wendel Wilkins, the people's lawyer. How are you, my brother? I'm sure you don't have time.
I am fine. Thank you so much. Good
Boy,
morning to you and your listeners.
you say you're fine. Excitement on a daily basis. I wonder what you'll
Yes.
touch today. So many things are happening, and I must tell you, I get the impression that the Jamaican people are waking up because persons are commenting on a number of things. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a salary issue or what, but something tells me that the Jamaican people, they are waking up. So, I don't know. Something
And
is
that is
happening.
good for our democracy. That is how democracy should operate. People are alive and it is active, not on a piece of paper in black ink, but
Yes, yes.
alive. And the citizens must participate in matters that affect them. And this is good. Now, 2 weeks ago, the Minister of Finance, I think it was on the 16th of May, Tuesday the 16th in Parliament, dropped a bombshell that has been reverberating locally and overseas. That
Locally
is,
and internationally.
yes, and that is the substantive salary increase for members of Parliament and ministers. Now, as we said last week, we are not begrudging them for a salary increase. It's a question of why and how much. Now,
Oh, by the way, there's
number
another
of
problem I must tell you too, which I had mentioned on this program before, and apparently there are quite a number of errors in was coming out of the restructuring of those salaries because they cut out all the allowances and so on. And I did say it on this program, Wendell, that the time frame that they had, you could not make the changes in that time. You just can't. You have take the teachers for example. You have over 20, probably 7,000 teachers. My idea, and because of lucky enough for Vernon has been exposed to quite a number of things. I said to myself that there's no way you could write a program that could capture all the various nuances in terms of salary that teachers get, their allowances, and it's just not possible for 27,000 persons. And now I can tell you. Now, I'm going to tell you something, Wendell. Sometimes you don't have to have proof. Just same way that I look at the system and say what would happen, because sometimes, you have to, just like Columbus, just felt the world was round, and no scientific basis, and he eventually found out that it was round. And I said it can't work. When I run it, I said there must be errors. And now putting it to everybody, Wendell, that there are more errors. The only reason probably more persons are not complaining because the errors probably end up with quite a few of them better off. And until I see an audited report of those changes in salary and a team audited, I'm going to have a problem. And the same thing with the salary increase to parliamentarians. Up to now, nobody has given me any principle, any framework. All I hear that their salary pegged to permanent secretaries. That's just not a sound basis at all. No.
all right. So, I think the objective was to get on with the compensation review, you see, and all the consequences of errors and complaints will be dealt with afterwards. I think that was the mission.
I hear you.
Which is not a good way. Which is not a good way of human resource management.
Yes.
But be that as it may, I am focusing today on this matter where some politicians who have gotten their increases now are saying that they can't craft or set up a job description for them because of the nature of their job.
No, I want those who say that too, Yes.
No, I don't agree with that. It's not beyond us, with all the knowledge that we have, to craft a job description. In this modern world, nobody of substance can start a job and get paid without a job description as what you're supposed to do and your parameters and your performance criteria.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you my position.
These are going to be high profile persons who are working for us, the employers or the masters, not low profile. And therefore they must have a job description by the hook or the crook. So
Well, let me tell
if
you,
there's no job description, there's
hold on
no
there,
pay.
Wendell. Let me tell the counsel that I have and see if you can fashion it, and probably I might have to think again. I have a differentiation between a worker and those who manage and lead. Like, for example, I think the Prime Minister's job description includes everybody's job description in the island. And I'd hate to have any leader telling me that doesn't fall under my job description. What I'd love to have is responsibilities of the minister, finance minister, whoever it is, but not a job description person. It probably is not a major thing, but that's my concern. You don't have a job, you're a
Well,
leader.
that might be a matter of semantics.
Semantics,
the
right.
Framework,
Yes.
the framework of saying, we, your masters, are paying you, and these are the things that we want for you to do, for you to perform, to get that salary. That is commonplace, common sense. People can be at large to do as they like and get this kind of high-profile salary. It doesn't work that way in a modern country going somewhere. So there is no exemption for them, first of all. Now, what needs to be done is to use our great creativity in this nation to come up with a framework, and we can work out the wording in detail over a period of time. But there must be some framework or an idea, some parameters and remit for these people who are members of parliament and parish councillors. We'll come to the parish councillors naturally after you have dealt with the members of parliament. So I want to set out a framework now, a legal framework as to job description, that this is how we want you to perform, these are your duties, not those over there that you have been doing. These are your duties, and it is matching with the pay. So let us look at some broad framework. I'm just framing it, not the exact word come and full stop at this stage. First one is to vigorously and in a sustained manner advocate on behalf of the constituents in respect of issues affecting them until meaningful results are achieved. Very important. You're an advocate, advocating on behalf of the people. And you don't just do one little thing by making a phone call and then report that I have made a phone call and I'm waiting on a response. But you are going to advocate vigorously and in a sustained manner until some result is achieved. Next month, next year, or whenever the programming of the state allows for that. That is the first thing, advocacy. The next thing that should be part of the job description is regular consultation and discussion, at least every 3 months, with the constituents regarding issues affecting the constituents and the constituency. Some people don't seem to have any consultation, and some people say they do it on a Thursday, but it's very difficult to have a genuine consultation one day of the week. So it has to be worked out so that there's broad consultation with the constituents regarding the issues that are affecting them in the constituency. Next point, taking whatever is proposed as policies of the incumbent government and the laws, policies and the laws being proposed to the constituents for discussion and to obtain their viewpoint. You can't have a situation where there is primacy of the party, and all I need to do is to turn up in a suit in parliament, and as soon as the minister who has the portfolio responsibility for the proposed law speaks, throughout his speech I knock the desk several times, and when voting time comes, I don't have a clue what they are talking about, nor interested, but my duty is to vote. That cannot be. Where is the viewpoint of the people? Was there consultation and discussion at the constituency level? So that is part of the duty now of this great advocate to bring back government policy that government is proposing and laws, it's very important one that they are proposing that will affect the constituents. Back to the people for discussion, and then to take back whatever view, even the dissenting view, whatever view that is coming from the constituents back into Parliament. That is advocacy and representation. I don't think much of that is going on or has gone on in the past. Right now we have constitutional reform, and I do not hear of a commission being given to all the members of Parliament on either side of the aisle to go into the constituency and consult the people. As to what is in the present constitution, make yourself familiar with it and propose things as to what you want.
But Wendel, why should that be when probably a decision has been made, and especially if you have bipartisan support, is a done deal?
Well, I see the horse galloping down the road, But we, the citizens, not saying anything. The horse soon get tired and learn that is not how it is done. It's not a gallop and a race and a timeline. Couple people huddle together and set what is the agenda item.
Right. It reminds me of a speech made by a gentleman, but he didn't say horse. He said Jamaica is like a motor car running downhill. It is swinging to the right. It is swinging to the left. And it is totally out of control. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know why these people are huddling together, make all the decisions, and they don't consult. So far, the consultation has been weak. I understand that there was a Montego Bay forum there, town hall, and there was one in Montego Bay. But I don't know of any other, and how many people have access to give their views and to give their understanding.
Another thing, if the people of this country, they have not been exposed to things like civics, they're not going to see the importance of all this discussion. They're not been so socialized. So.
Yeah. And the other thing too that we must mention, discussions are being had about the people's business, but access to those discussions seem to be limited because it's not an open forum.
Yes.
I understand some minutes are available of the discussion, but the minutes do not reflect who said what and the views of the various people. It's like a summary of the decisions, or one and two parties, the major parties who made some major input. But that kind of minutes may not truly what we want.
But how are they going to make minutes? Minutes of what they say or what they got from the people?
I beg your pardon, repeat.
I said minutes of what? What they say, what they think, or minutes of what the people are saying?
The discussions that they're having, we don't know where they are getting information from as to what the people want or what the people say. But they're having discussions though, and they are coming to decisions. And there are some minutes, I understand, available of those deliberations. But we want to hear what each person is saying. And so we get a feel of who is saying what.
Me I tell you what, me don't want to hear what them I say. Me want them hear the whole about hear what me I say. All right. Mark my word, Wendel.
But until we have full input, we want to know what they are saying. Yeah.
Probably what they are saying is not worth hearing. I don't know. That's why it's probably kept confidential. I don't know.
Well, it can't be confidential. It is the people's business and the people's constitution, and the people must give instructions to the content of
But Wendel, please understand that it is held in many quarters that the people them not have no sense. Even broadcasting, I've been told that Vernon, we are discussing something on radio. Up your idiot this to radio,
Yeah.
And that's not my experience. No, sir. Because while we're having this,
that will be tested in due course if the people don't have any sense. That will be tested.
Wendel,
in fact,
you must behave yourself,
While we're discussing this matter now of salaries and job description.
Yes.
Some people say it's because the people in the political directorate thought the people didn't have no sense.
Fool,
yes.
They
went ahead in the way that they did. And it is the pushback that has caught them now, and they are coming to say we really should have done the job description and the
Well,
performance criteria and assessment aspect first.
well, Wendell, I will tell you that I'm getting feedback from quite a number of Jamaicans, and even within the political parties. And some have said to me openly, Vernon, next election I'm not voting. So I don't think persons understand the kind of fallout with that salary issue. And by the way, you don't rationalize it by saying how much permanent secretary gets. No. What I suggested, and another group came up with a better suggestion that I had said to them, it should be a percentage of your gross domestic product that should be allocated to public servants and the political directorate and so on. And that'd be a nice base to start. If you go above, that should be enshrined in the Constitution. If you go above that, then just like when you want to extend a state of emergency, you have to get that support. But then somebody said that what you ought to do is to base it on the per capita income of the country, so that the Prime Minister, for example, or the Permanent Secretary should get a multiple of the per capita income. And that, to me, would be a good way of deciding how we remunerate persons, because you just can't remunerate persons and the country is not producing. There's no money being made. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, the analysis, the international comparative analysis that was done with other Caribbean countries and countries that they classify as first world is showing that the salaries of these ministers and so forth and members of parliament will be way ahead of those countries that have a greater gross domestic product.
Oh, I hear you. And I hear that some countries are getting better pay. Well, if they're getting better pay, then I would say migrate and go there and get better pay. But the country has to pay depending on what it can afford. Yeah. And one thing is sure, you can have such wide disparity in terms of income, because that can be a demotivating factor in terms of people feeling patriotic. That definitely is.
There are some financial ratios that they set to see to make sure that the wage bill doesn't exceed X percentage of the gross domestic product. So that is already in place. And the more we generate productivity and production and the gross domestic product increases, then you have more fiscal space to give more salary and all of that. So that is somewhat in place. Mm-hmm. So the next thing that is part of the job description is that the members of parliament must report to parliament or wherever the agent of the state is operating what the viewpoint of the citizens in the constituency is saying. Because many times we do not get the impression that the member of parliament is carrying a view from the constituency. They are carrying the view of the party.
Or personal view.
Or their personal
view. You represent yourself when you go to parliament.
They have no view at all.
Wait, you're telling me, I know you're going to go there, Then I ask you, there are some members of parliament, it's for the way they win, they come in like the living dead, you never hear from them. Okay, they just shut up in the parliament.
They don't know what is being discussed, nor the implications and consequences of it. Until somebody in the private sector or some other sector interest group balls out and say something is wrong there.
They wake up immediately.
The proposed law is not well thought out. I was not consulted, and this is the implication. So they need to be carrying the views of the people and aware of what law is being passed. They are lawmakers.
Wendell, you have to understand, Wendell, that some persons get into politics because on the party ticket, and it is a party. The party is like the wings of a bird. It carries them. The moment you don't have the party.
Is the vehicle, but when you get in there, people become the vehicle.
No. Them not change. A party. They no.
Well, that is why we are not achieving economic development and the development of the livelihoods of the people and the citizens.
I'm going to tell you something, Wendell. If you call some members of parliament and you ask them what's their position, what is their position on a number of issues, they will tell the boy, if we hear the party have to say. I'm not asking you.
That is a regular thing. They leave it up to the minister portfolio.
Oh,
they have a private view. They have a private view and they have a public view.
How you going like in a politics, brother? How you know so much? I don't understand,
Yeah. When you listen to them, man, you realize what is going on.
But you know what is funny? A classic one, and I'm telling from real experience. So let me tell my listeners, I've been involved from your picking. Yes, who we should tell you already, we shall patchula day. All the politicians used to come there, so yeah, me know what go on. And for East Kingston to Papine, I've been all over, so I know the politics pretty well. But what is quite interesting, is when you have a minister, you can have a minister who is selected from outside of the parliament. And then he makes certain pronouncements. And then guess what? Those who have been elected will tell you, I can't speak to that issue. Let Minister so-and-so speak to that issue. And Minister so-and-so has no constraint, was not democratically elected. It's amazing.
Yes, that is to be looked at in the constitutional reform aspect also.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they have to report what the constituents, the citizens who send them into Parliament, is saying about the particular subject matter, and not just the party supremacy line. Then regular attendance at Parliament and other decision-making bodies that they are required to attend. And if they do not attend, there is some kind of sanction that is to be worked out. It can be financial, it can be as grave as a recall because you're not in attendance. Unless you have some excuse, you're traveling abroad or you're sick. That sort of framework in terms of job description must apply. It applies all over the world. That if you're not in attendance and you don't have a good excuse, then there are certain consequences.
But Wendel,
I
will tell you, unless the people wake up some more, then many of us will continue to live in hope, and will die in despair. So, if the people sit down and they fall asleep, we cannot talk till judgment come. And that's why it's good to keep certain persons ignorant. Because you don't know nothing, then we can't do anything with you. So it runs.
Well, this is why we have this lovely program to stimulate discussion, to share ideas about the legal aspects of the job description.
Exactly.
Where some people say, you can't give me no job description because I'm a welfare officer. I go to funerals and make contributions.
So who gave you that job? Who assigned that job to you? You're not a public servant.
So far, that is not in the job description that I have mentioned so far. Not in it.
But it was never welfare work. You have a department and you have social workers. You are not a civil servant. You're a public servant, not a civil servant. It's just amazing. All right, Wendel, we're going to go for the break right now.
You're tuned to Vernon Derby. Oh, love.
Welcome back. You're listening to RIddim FM, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. And of course, we have the People's Lawyer on the line, and he's been making some very interesting comments. And of course, yes, you'll make sure you listen very carefully and make sure that you send me your feedback. All you have to do is send me a WhatsApp message to 876-816-5261 and let me know what you think. Yes, it's a law and you. And this is SpotOn. I'm your friend Vernon Derby, and the People's Lawyer Wendel Wilkins is back with us. Yes, Wendel. We have about
so we are looking at this job description for members of Parliament.
Right. We have 5 minutes left.
Right, and of course, parish councillors will come in at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we are doing here today what is possible that some people say it is not possible in terms of a job description for members of Parliament.
I love to change the name, though. You hear me, Wendel? I'd love the name to be changed to something else than a job description. That's probably the only problem I have. The job description.
This is what I'm saying. We're not going into the semantics of it. You can call it whatever you.
Right.
We're setting the framework.
Mm-hmm.
So another aspect of this job description or its equivalent is regular reporting of what you have been doing as a member of Parliament to the constituency.
Sleeping, knocking the desks.
Because sometimes the member of Parliament is active, doing lots of things in the background.
Yes.
But the constituents do not know. So you have to do regular reporting of what you have done, how many letters you have done, how many meetings, what you have done, and so forth to the members.
Wendell, I wish you well on that. They're not willing to come on here if you see what they are doing. You think them going to do it? No, sir. Yeah,
well, you see, we are the employers and we are the masters. We are now demanding that if you are going to get this sum of money, which we are not begrudging you, then you must perform.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that they should do is to make themselves available, accessible by contact in terms of the citizens. So the citizens must be able to contact them or their office or wherever they are.
Yes.
Not at 2 o'clock in the morning as they are.
Yes.
We're not talking about that.
Yes.
You have work hours and you have an office and you have access by electronic means, all kinds of means. Let us modernize and transform ourselves. So you don't have to go knock and join a line at an office. You can call, you can text, and you have the support staff there, paid by the state, support the member of parliament so that he will get the contacts, and then you must have criteria for responding, because sometimes you make contact and you don't get back a word from the MP. The MP must respond within 48 hours, 24 hours as the criteria is set. Now, you notice I have not mentioned anything about back to school, educational support, or any of those welfare aspects.
Mm-hmm.
If the MP wants to use his salary or whatever income he has otherwise to do that, that's fine.
And by the way, if he uses his salary, he has not received a reduction in salary. He has received his salary and he has decided to give some other persons benefit from his salary.
And there's one last thing before we close up that I have not settled on. But each member of parliament, once you become elected, you must do a course in public administration. In other words, how government is run. Remember that civics argument? How you carry out your duties. Because there seems to be some members of parliament who do not understand the sensitivity and the requirements of public administration. They don't understand the acts and the regulatory framework. They don't understand the Auditor General function and how the Auditor General operates and the various regulatory framework that exists. Sometimes even in Parliament, they are quarreling over how Parliament must be conducted and who must stand up and who must speak and who must shut up and all sorts of things that are not looking good for the advancement of the people.
I'm not too sure if a word has whatever footing they call it. It should be used or not. That one is interesting.
Yeah. So those are the things that should be in the framework, and the details and the wording and the full stop and the comma of the legal framework can be worked out by the experts. But we are just showing what is impossible is possible if we are creative and put our minds to it.
And one way to make sure it is possible is to make sure that persons like yourself and others have access and you can speak to the people, because sometimes we feel only our political leaders should be able to speak to the people. No.
Yeah. And the final point is that we are in a transformative era now where we are changing up things. So things like pegging automatically because it took place for 37 years is not on.
I see.
You have to justify how you align.
I have 1 second left. 1 second left.
How you get your salary.
Thank you very much, a people's lawyer, Wendel Wilkins.
My pleasure.
Have a wonderful day until next week. We do it all over again. Okay.